Okay, so I called to order the Board of Assessors meeting. 9:08. Good. Pledge of allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
one nation, under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
and everybody who's not here, say aye. Nobody's here. Okay. Oh, wait a second. So yeah, let me go through this. This is a public meeting being audio recorded for cable broadcast and internet posting on Dighton/mass.gov and YouTube. That's our disclaimer. You're on camera.
It's technically a dash.
Dash, what did I say?
Slash.
Slash, oh, all right, it's dash, not slash.
In England, that's a stroke.
It's a stroke, okay. Gotcha, all right, so obviously we're kicking this thing around for a little bit, so. Where do we get started on that?
For once, I'm along for the ride.
Okay, so yesterday, Stephanie and I attended a meeting. It was a Zoom meeting because of the weather.
Yep.
And you guys saw the questions I sent over and you've got the answers that came back. So on that list of questions, what I said to them was, I put the one in relative to when attributable laws and when they became effective, because we hadn't talked about that at the meeting. So we didn't really discuss that. So I don't know if you need any clarification from them about the dates or anything. So that's open. Other than that, if you have any follow-up on any of the stuff that I wrote there, questions and their responses, that was the only thing we left open, was the question about attributable laws. And so we pretty much covered everything that at least I found in going through the PPA.
Right.
By the way, the PPA is confidential. I wasn't aware of that at the time, but we didn't send it out per se, so.
Yep.
So one of the things I'll point out is,
I'm sorry, I'm just a curious question. This is a public entity with all contracts with a public entity, public.
when it's finalized. And
Oh, okay,
so,
okay.
so I just
during
wanted,
negotiation.
Correct.
right, so a lot of my questions, like, why are we talking about real estate taxes and why are we talking about pilot agreements? The PPA that came out to us is sort of a conglomeration of everything to cover every possible condition.
Right.
So had I known that and could have eliminated some of the things that weren't going to happen, I would have eliminated some questions. But since I was looking at this as the agreement, I had a lot of questions about it. So we worked through that and we're working towards now the final agreement, which will go to, once approved or negotiated, will go to the Board of Trustees and will actually be taken care of. Correct. So that's pretty much a summary of what happened. So, gentlemen, you got anything to add?
I appreciate it. Just to kick off from the school perspective. Again, this is our round 2 in discussion, so thank you for taking this up.
Speak loud.
Oh, okay. This, did you just stand anywhere?
They can probably hear you.
Yeah, if you want to.
Probably all
Yeah.
So this is our round 2 of our discussions, streaming at you, right?
That's okay.
okay.
For the
We scream at her all the time.
And it does no good.
Don't scream that when I go back to the office.
So thank you for taking this up in the Board of Assessors. Obviously, conversation that happened yesterday, we're on to almost 2.5 years of reviewing this solar project through both the work that we've done with Select and with the Board of Trustees and with our school building committee. So we're hoping that we're coming near to completion. We're in the stages now where National Grid is finalizing and we're out of their group study at this point. So they're going to identify for us where we are going to complete the queue of installation. And our hopes is that we can begin to mobilize the project once it's signed and negotiated as the final PPA at this time. So we've invited Matt Shortsleeve, who is Vice President in Select Solar, Steve Claremont, who worked with us on the solar project to clarify any further follow-up questions that we had. Specifically related to yesterday's discussion, we talked about the financial model in this project itself. It is razor thin. See at that point in time. What is confidential into it obviously is being negotiable with the client. There is the savings for electricity on the campus is going to be significant to us as we start to see our numbers come through in the last year, year and a half of how much usage this campus is utilizing for electricity. This is a benefit to us both on the science, Center for Science and Dairy Barn to help us offset some of the utilization that we're having. I think this is going to be a great program for us to move forward and a lease program. And I'll leave it at that point in time. We can discuss a little bit more on some of the questions related to the general law that took place and questions related to the laws.
Can I ask you a quick question? Because I'm not sure this came up before, but we're talking about an initial build. What happens if you plan to expand it?
Initial bills? Oh, the initial bill.
Yeah, the initial building of this solar array. What is there provisions to expand this at any point?
Yeah, so,
And what would happen?
yeah, that's a good question.
And the reason why I'm asking is I'm thinking about that 125%. Like,
Yep.
as of right now, like you said, you're way under it, but what happens, does this open the door for you to be able to, make a 10 times bigger solar array or
Yeah.
something like that?
Yeah, yeah. So from the school's perspective, our ultimate goal is to be able to look at maybe an additional project at the landscape facility building itself. That's one of the other areas, but we find that to be a longer term 3 to 5 year process out. We are not looking at solar specifically for Gilbert Hall. Gilbert Hall is our main academic building in place. And at that point, the only other arrays that we have capabilities to put on campus would be landscape, unless we could.
I don't think you quite got my question, which was saying, does this PPA agreement?
Yeah.
Is it like, it's got a box around it? Like if you expand it, are you gonna have a new agreement?
Yeah.
Or is this gonna be some sort of
Yeah.
open-ended?
No, it's a good question.
I can answer that question. Okay, this PPA relates to those two specific systems. So you have to file with the Massachusetts Public Resources and with the National Grid to go through the use of specific to those.
So this grid is not gonna get any bigger without going through this.
Without
process.
a
Okay.
whole new entity.
Okay, that was what
Right.
the question.
And if I may, just a moment of your time. I do have Matt Shortley with our Vice President on here. He has a 9:30, I think, with the state police, I believe, coming up, so.
If we have any questions for him, get to it quick. I got you. Sure.
Any other questions?
Welcome aboard, Matt. But question though, just talk about savings. How do you quantify the savings? Like, you're saving how much? Do we quantify that? I mean, what would you be charged if you weren't saving, getting a discount rate? What would that rate, what do those rates look like? And what would they look like compared to not having the solar on there in the first place, right?
Prior to getting into that discussion, the Bristol County Agricultural High School was buying power directly from that.
Right.
In our discussions with bringing in power option.
Yep.
They agreed to sign a 3-year, I believe, supply agreement with power option, which has a supply rate of 14.9 cents. And if you look at the current National Grid supply side, I think it's 30+ cents. So, and then you have to add in the delivery side for that, so.
That's where I'm going with that too. So National Grid would have charged, let's say 30 cents, right? So if we can round this off, so it's easy numbers, right? So 30 cents, that's per kilowatt hour, is that what that is? So per kilowatt hour, right? So 30 cents. And then there's a delivery charge.
But exactly, so the solar actually eliminates the supply and the delivery side. Takes both of them into consideration.
Right.
So you're saving, so depending upon when we get back to the tax study, like additional costs. We did whatever intent almost a year ago. Which I believe the dairy bond, which is the smallest system, was around 12 cents, and the CSC center was 11.5. I believe those were the numbers. But that would offset the total addressable electricity rate of the delivery against supply. So the savings is pretty significant. It's good. It's more than 2/3.
compared to National Grid Direct. Okay,
Did the 30 cents include the delivery or just the
No,
fuel?
if you look at the National Grid tables, it's about 30 cents. I can't remember, 31 or something like
well, call 30 cents for the sake of discussion.
And then the delivery side, which is about, I think, 15.
So, and that's
It's not-
volume discount, right? So based on 2 million kilowatt hours or whatever it was we saw there, plus you're saving 2/3 compared to direct from National Grid.
And the campus rate, I think when I was here last time, it was about 2,100,000 and whatever thousand kilowatt hours. That was based on only 9 months history of the dairy bond, got the latest bill. And now it's so moved from 100,000 to like 115,000. So another
Right.
15,000. So if I would add another 2 months to round out the bill, you're talking about around 138,000. So it's up.
All right, and that's a direct savings, obviously taxpayers, because taxpayers are paying for Bristol County's
Exactly, it mitigates your ongoing operating costs.
ongoing operating
And
costs.
the nice thing about the power options PPA contract is the 0% annual escalator, so that rate never goes up. Unlike other PPAs where it might go up 0.5% or 1% or 2%.
It never, that's an absolute statement, never.
Oh, yeah, it's in the contract.
But is it for
20 years from now?
Or what?
20 years from now, then we can take the system down, that's the end of the contract.
Right, oh, I see. So 10 years from now, it's still the same rate.
Yeah.
No matter what. And the benefit to school, obviously, is you mentioned the scientific part of things, right? Because the kids are studying this, that you've got programs for this, so you're learning from this, improving processes, okay, I got you. Okay, that was one of my questions on how you quantify the savings.
Anybody got anything for Matt?
I don't know. Does anybody have anything for Matt? Matt, do you have anything for us?
Matt, you.
Hi, everyone. No, just listening along.
Super. I don't have anything particular for Matt.
I just
Okay.
wanted to add, when you were asking the question, what they are proposing obviously has not come through the town yet, meaning permits and all that other stuff that has to happen. Once permitted and it gets built, so forth, so on. If they modify that system in any way, somehow figure out to add panels to it, or
That was the question.
whatever, the town will be involved. Because obviously, on an annual basis, we'll be looking to determine how much they're generating and how much they're using. We know it's a big gap right now, but that's not the point. The town has to have some involvement as far as its ability to tax if it ever comes to that point.
Right.
But if they decided to do ground mounted solar somewhere over there, as they said, it's a whole new issue. And again, it would have to go through the whole permitting process, but it would have to come back, that project would have to come back to the Board of Assessors because
Right.
it would be a new one.
Why would we be expanding the panels out of there? Because usage goes up and they need more
No,
panels?
no, you don't know. I'm just thinking technology. This, even as we've started through these in town, there's been changes in technology.
Right.
By the time we got pilot agreements done and these things were up and running, whatever had occurred would have been included,
Right,
but none of us really know where this whole thing's gonna go.
right. So that actually is a good, so as technology advances, 5 years from now, panels are more efficient than they are today. We know that's probably going to happen.
Yeah.
Right, it just happens in every industry, everywhere across the board, right? Things get more efficient, they get better, they get smaller, more powerful, whatever it is. Do you change them out? Are these panels on there for 20 years? Do you change them out? Are you gonna change them out? Are we gonna get more efficient? So maybe there's more savings down the road when they say, hey, this panel now generates X number of kilowatt hours and 10 years from now, it's gonna generate twice that, like computer chips.
Yeah, you're making an interesting observation. In the computer side, where I used to be in the computer side of that, the power would double, the price would drop in half every year.
Right.
That is not the case in solar. It's incremental steps of improvement.
Right.
So for instance, it was 460 or 470 watt panels, now they're 480. Not a huge jump.
Not yet.
Mm.
But as we get smarter and as the kids are studying this, you get more minds on it and they see it differently. And now they That's what we would expect. So I'm just curious if you ever change them out or these panels are up. Yeah, that's it.
That's what it, in there, that's what we have.
It is what it is. So in 20 years, maybe we would think about a new panel.
Yeah, we had to go through a whole process with National Grid to make sure that the solar system doesn't impact it. The whole, that's called the.
Right, that was the impact study.
Application
Yeah.
process.
Oh, I got you. So changing it out would do a whole new, would just throw a monkey wrench into the impact study because now it's different. I got you. Okay.
The pilot agreements we have in place and those that are in the various stages of negotiations have clauses in them that talk about if panels are to be added or removed, this whole formula. One removal at a certain amount of removal would trigger looking at the tax agreement.
Right.
The
Okay.
same thing with increase.
Yeah.
So although we don't have a pilot agreement with them, the kind of rules that the town has would provide oversight. I'd say the other thing I would mention was a big article in the New York Times this weekend about the fact that the grid system across the United States, because it's signing on more users, whatever you want to call them, customers, the amount of space available to tie into these things is rapidly diminishing. And one of the big problems is it's because they don't have the infrastructure to send the power out. So they have to limit how many more can come in. It was a very interesting article about, we're gonna.
Yeah, we know.
So anyhow, I just mentioned that because I just happened to pick that paper up this weekend and read it and did a double take. But anyhow, I
Your
think,
kids need to study that
Yeah,
too.
that's very.
Your kids need to study how to increase that
Yeah, the impact.
capacity.
The result of it.
Right.
The 12 megawatt system by Borrego or something, it's now new leaf that we had a system that was. Kind of.
It's like highway systems,
hmm,
right? When the city grows, more people come onto the highways,
Yeah.
then they gotta
Their highway-
figure out how to increase the highway capacities. And it becomes a mess because they're antiquated.
A quick question, I assume this is a grid tied system, correct?
Yeah.
So like on Saturdays or something like that, you're gonna be generating power and sending it to National Grid?
Well, I think because we're so low below that 2 million megawatt hours, I assume that there's activity going on and that power will be used locally, but.
I was assuming that, whether it be in the weekends or
Oh,
summertime,
yeah.
something like that, when there's no kids
So
there.
if there's excess capacity that's done, then and meet the SMART program, you get credited by what's called alternate on-bill credits, and that goes to the school.
All right, so can I ask this question? I know this became a point of contention for me last time about the taxable nature of that personal property that's up there. Which I think we're still kind of going through, right? So obviously there's direct savings to the school, because if we tax the personal property, it's going to get pushed up, the rate's going to go up a little bit, school pays for it. Ultimately, the taxpayers pay for it. That's what that is. To the town itself, if we're not collecting any property tax on that, personal tax rather, what do we do if the fire department has to show up? Who covers that bill, right? I mean, town taxpayers have to pay that, or the police for, let's say it was vandalism or something. I mean, that's a town bill.
Yeah.
Right, but we haven't really collected anything to offset that. So what-
but they're
Is that-
totally tax exempt anyhow, so we have to provide those services. And I know exactly what you're
But, I mean,
talking
that's what I'm
about.
saying, that's kind of a problem. So what does the town do?
Public non-taxable property,
That's not public.
pretty much. Sure it
The
is.
School is, but
School
those, but those panels aren't.
I think, Eric.
It's going to belong to them.
I think it's.
Yes, sir.
Is that if it's a panel or if it's a structural issue or the fire department's responding to a fire alarm scene to the campus now.
Well, not to your campus. What if there's something specifically to the panels on the top?
But they would be responding to the campus building itself. So the panels are, let's say there's an issue
Yeah,
specifically.
but if the panels weren't there, they wouldn't respond. Let's say there's a problem with the panel on the top. Only the panel, not the building, not a classroom, not the kitchen, something on fire, right? So I get that part. But something wrong with a panel up there and the fire department has to show up. And they go right to the roof and they got to do something with that panel and they didn't touch the building.
If I may interrupt you.
Is that not even a
There's
concern?
also, issues when you have fires and solar panels, fire department has to be extraordinarily careful about dealing, because those solar panels, if it's daytime, they could be live. And generating electricity even while the fire is going on, so the fire department has to have.
That's just another layering of risk. I'm saying to the taxpayer of the town, And now we bear the burden of everything.
It's not that easy, guys, quite frankly. This, part of what he's talking about was something I thought of. In the city of Boston, for example, a place that has lots and lots of private facilities, educational institutions, and public ones too. Those institutions, BU, pick one, okay? Harvard, receive city services from whether it's Cambridge or Boston, wherever they're located. They have huge endowment funds. They have money coming out of their ears. And it is not unusual for the city of Boston to say to them, can you help us out? Now, my understanding is, by the way, this happens in small communities. Wareham is an example. They have South Coast Health. And there's a foundation for that hospital in Wareham. And periodically, they will give money to the town of Wareham for a specific purpose. It cannot be used for operation of the town. But if they're building a, I don't know, a park or a playground, they donate money. The foundation does specifically to the town for, and they name it. So if you will, it's a restricted gift. So when we were talking about last time about taxability and all this other thing, and we got into the profit of the company that's doing this, so forth, so on. I did look into it, and that's when I found out about this particular, I'll call it gift. Don't misconstrue me. I'm not asking you guys for money. All I'm saying is part of the discussion we had, because I know it happens. Think about a city like Boston or Cambridge that has all those institutions that don't pay any taxes. They occupy millions of dollars worth of real estate. They receive millions and millions of dollars worth of services from the community, but they're tax exempt. So this was also part of the research that I was doing, because I knew what was happening on occasion. And there are other occasions when they asked one of the big private universities for something, they get nothing. But I didn't know if that type of gift, I'll call it, would be beneficial to a community. So the answer is yes, except it wouldn't offset tax money simply because you can't use it for operation of town government.
So we couldn't use it for the fire department. The fire department has to show up and specifically do something with a panel.
No,
I guess that's my overall concern, and I don't even know if we can
No.
solve that here, but that's just an overall concern. Like if the fire department has to show up and spend 12 hours on just a panel, which is private property, they're saving your private property.
except that equipment is leased is the proper term to the county, which makes it, gets the municipal issue in there. So
So
But-
it's then town property?
not town property, county property.
County, property, well, whatever,
Yeah.
or taxpayer property, I guess I should say.
Yeah, so anyhow,
So yeah, whatever town it's in has to go out and put it up. I guess it's on the burden of the first responders.
oh, the other thing I wanted to mention that came up yesterday, in the law, that DLS informational guideline blurb that we got, that you had gotten for us, there was reference to battery storage. There is no battery storage at Aggie because number one, they're going to, for the most part, use everything they generate and still have to buy electricity. So us all knowing about battery issues and storage in town, I asked that question. So
Right.
there is
So
no,
there's no issue. there.
no storage. No,
That was why I asked is it grid tied question.
Yeah.
Grid tie, right?
Yeah. No, I told them if that were the case, they'd have another board to deal with.
You guys ever have a problem with panels? Do they ever blow up? Do they ever catch on fire? I'm not saying it couldn't happen, right? Because things are possible. I'm just curious what the.
The other part of your division also manages the service component of these panels themselves. We have, you're handling preventative maintenance work a lot differently.
Oh, okay, so they're paying preventative maintenance? Or is that passed on to taxpayer? So preventative maintenance,
You're maintaining the system. There's nothing-
you're maintaining, that's what I'm saying, and that's at your cost, or that's built into the overall cost of the energy and everything else?
We have something like 10 or service trucks that are out there.
So that's a little bit different in this model, or in our case, is that Select manages the panels themselves on the PM side. So
Yep.
that's to your point of, are these gonna be put up and stay for 20 years and never be looked at? No, that's different than all that.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't expect that. I was just curious.
We monitor all our systems via the web, but we also come out and service the systems and do an annual.
So you still put a set of eyes on it.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. In fact, we have other companies' solar systems that where the provider is maybe it's service or maybe it's gone, that we actually service their system.
Which helps us because one of the difference between owning our own system, which you could not afford, versus leasing it, on the ownership model, that you're responsible for that maintaining.
Correct, yeah, I got you, sure.
So that's the benefit to us on this piece. So it's not a freestanding unit that just stays.
Okay, when you get to the point of talking about actually doing the project, obviously a key person is the fire chief. And with the systems we have out there, for the most part, if a fire starts, if it's hopefully there's a suppression system, it's going to be allowed to burn itself out because of the problems with trying to, I'll call it smother it, stifle it, whatever, because they have a tendency to come back to life. And so from a strictly public safety standpoint, you're putting these on a school building. And you need to be aware, and I'm sure you're going to have extensive discussion with our fire chief about doing this. As opposed to what our schools have with those roof things,
What about
Chris,
insurance? Sorry. Finish.
well, I would think that's all going to be part
Is
of the
that part of your
package.
policy or do they have an insurance policy on their stuff? So part of your policy covers whatever's up there. So if there's an issue in the roof, so,
Yeah.
Okay.
So I just mentioned this because the farm on Brook Street, that's still having drainage basin problems. Has battery storage that wasn't originally in the master plan. But in order for them to move ahead with that someday, they had to buy the property adjacent to it simply because the batteries are located too close to the property line, and the property line was a huge forest. So the company that owns the solar thing, the panels and all that, bought the property. And now they will be coming back to us with a plan showing how they're going to clear enough land to make a fire break. Because that was something special that was needed because of where those batteries were. Now, obviously, you're not dealing with that, but I just point out the importance of the fire safety issue. So,
okay. Does Matt need to go? If Matt needs to go, he can go. He doesn't need to. Matt, do you have anything for the board before you go?
No, we're happy to have the discussion. We met with Mike and Nancy over a year ago to talk about this project. We're happy that you're giving us the time to discuss it. We appreciate the forum. We're going to proceed as soon as we get this contract done and go build it. We'll work with the permitting and fire safety like we always do. We'll get the electric inspector to make sure it's all right. We worked with your building department on the permitting process a long time ago too, so that's paved. We expect this will go well. We understand we work with a lot of smaller communities who really rely on personal property taxes, and we do have a number of pilot agreements out there. We also understand it's, and appreciate that it's a stimulus to get these projects in with a potential for exemption. And we're happy to help the Aggie with their sustainability goals and get that all done. We will actively maintain the projects, and we do expect that they're going to deliver that electricity. And to your points discussed earlier, we can't change the interconnection on the project. So if we had another project that comes forward, whether it's with the town of Dayton or at the Aggie, or as we'll be active in the area, we expect we'll be back in touch with you and appreciate working with you to get this through. So thank you so
Matt.
much.
Thank you.
Okay, the total megawatt that was determined at the meeting yesterday is less than half a megawatt. So we aren't even talking a full megawatt that this will generate in electricity, right? It's a half a megawatt, the two buildings. When we were here the last time and Eric
Nancy, I'm
was,
sorry. Matt has to go. This is for
oh,
Matt.
he can leave.
Okay.
Thank you, Matt.
Matt, thank you, Matt.
Thank you, everyone.
When Eric was talking about the question of taxability and a profit factor and all that. The way I looked at this was, this is a county school. And if there was a way that everybody in the county could help pay for this personal property tax, if we were able to levy it, to me, it would be a fair way of doing it. Not being able to levy a personal property tax falls to the town of Dayton 100%. Okay, now, from what I can see, you're going to be tax exempt from everything that's been presented to us. But again, from a very unique standpoint, as far as who belongs to this school, who owns it, every community in the county, and yet, if you will, the fact it's located in Dayton, and the fact that it's not taxable means that would have been revenue if we could have taxed it, that would have come to the town of Dayton. And in turn, Dayton would have paid its proportionate share to the school to come around and pay for the whole thing. So, but I just mentioned that because these were all things I looked into to try to figure this out, because again, it's got to be fair. It's got to be follow the rules, the regs and everything else. But we're also the ones that will have to answer the questions. How come the Aggie schools got solar and they're not blah, 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 blah? So that's why we have to really look at every angle. Okay.
I really appreciate the due diligence, because you really looked into a lot of different things that some people might gloss over, so.
My job was to audit government contracts. So
So do we need to take any action on this?
Yeah, so we're here now. This is all informational right now. This is information important stuff. So yeah, are we taking action right now? I mean,
So the
are we
only thing I
doing,
could
are
think
we
of is
approving, not approving? We're just here for information right now. We're approving at a later date.
declare that they are exempt, I would suppose.
Yes.
I think it's already declared, right? So I think that's
we have
beyond our scope.
no, we have to vote to do it. And what I said to Stephanie said, what should I prepare? I said, assuming the board votes to declare them tax exempt, the county, the Aggie school. It's actually Bristol County, Bristol Aggie School. That's who's tax exempt on this project. And what I said to her was prepare a letter for signature by the chairman. They need something in writing from the town. My understanding is.
So this is where my question is. If it's law,
We're just acknowledging it.
Yeah, just-
That's all.
that's all we're doing. I mean, why are we approving it? That was my question. Why are we approving it if it's law? I
I'm saying we're not
wouldn't
fighting,
necessarily agree with the law.
but we're not fighting it.
Correct. Well, you can't.
We
The
could,
point is, what if we all said no?
then we'd be going to court. They would.
The state says we have to. I mean, that's kind of an issue when I'm told you have to say yes.
Pretty
I
much.
think what Bill's point is, if I may, I think it's bring up, I think we're at this point, for us to move forward on the contractual agreement with the EPA. This step with the discussion with the town needed to be vetted out and reviewed by the Board of Assessors. You're not agreeing with it, you're acknowledging that I believe, and I don't want to overstep my point of view, you're acknowledging that the legislation and laws in place and that the school can move forward and it would not be taxed for the property. And so that way we can finalize the rest of the PPA process.
Right.
Do you have that citation?
The other thing I want to,
That's really basically, we're saying we vetted every option and we don't have an option to tax it.
are you looking, what do you, I got the DLS, you looking for that?
No, I want to know in order to, that might be it.
I have like a bunch.
So that agreement,
This is
the
one that has
PPA
The specifics.
is in draft form and it's got all those terms and conditions that aren't going to apply, the ones that I questioned.
Right. That superseded the law.
So, well, they put every condition in there to cover everything because it's only a draft. It's going to get fine tuned. What gets fine tuned is going to go to the Board of Trustees for action to approve it for the county, for the school to make the commitment. They have to have some direction from the town of Dayton Board of Assessors that they in fact came here. They presented everything. We looked into it, trying to, we're meeting the requirements of the law, so forth and so on. Now, so assuming all this happens today and we say, yeah, we agree under the law, they're tax exempt, and they get a letter or something that confirms in effect that we've done that. All that does is allow them to move on to fine tune that agreement.
Correct.
Other than that, the town is not stepping away from this and saying, we're out of it. No, that's not the case. Because then they've got to, once they get that part straightened out, they've got to come to the town and the various boards about permitting and all this other stuff. I mean, in the document somewhere, I even read that obviously they've got to comply with town requirements. And I think it mentions planning and stormwater and conservation. So this only relates to being able to hook up with the national grid and do the financial stuff.
Yeah, and opposing it wouldn't really pose any benefit to anyone.
Actually, when the National Grid comes back with their impact study, and they say, okay, you're approved to construct it, you might have to do X, Y, Z, maybe or maybe not. You know. But they only give you a certain period of time to be able to respond to accept that.
I see. And we're in that period right now.
Starts all over again.
Yeah, and we're in that period right now.
But that's what's.
And you've got to,
I'm sorry, go ahead, Bill.
you've got to get your slot into that whole thing, according to that newspaper article.
I got you. All right,
So,
Bill.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a motion that the Board of Assessors acknowledges that the Bristol Aggie Campus Solar Project is indeed exempt from personal property taxes under Massachusetts General Law 59-545 and 59-545B.
Second,
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you so much.
Officially tax-free.
Good luck, guys. Well, you were officially tax-free anyway. We just now opened the door for you guys to finish what your project is. So
Thank you.
go for it.
Thank you so much. You stay for anything else, or you're in a good place?
when that final agreement
Yep.
is done, signed off, voted on by everybody, we would like a copy to come back to the town clerk so we can keep it on file. Again, we've never done this before. And it's something that a future Board of Assessors may have to deal with and changes in the law too. So at least they'll know what happened and what we in effect agreed to.
Yeah.
Okay,
Are maintenance schedules in there, by the way? So we know somebody's coming out every 6 months to look at it?
They come out once a year, but
Yep.
they're also monitoring it daily, so.
Yeah, okay. Do you have any plans for hydro? Okay, just curious. Wind? How about wind? Nothing yet. One step at a time. We'll start with solar.
Yeah, one step at a time.
Okay.
We don't really have enough.
I've had a couple of experiences.
We don't have enough consistent wind, but you do have consistent hydro out there in the river. Those tides are very consistent. But that's an expensive project too. Anyway, okay, guys, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for your time.
All right,
Nice to meet you.
you're welcome.
Take care. Thanks.
Now you can get
See
your
you
battery
guys.
powered car.
hey, see, guys? Regardless of what he said, I'm easy to get along with.
Well, thank you so much.
You bet, guys. All right, we'll
See
see.
you guys.
All right, so that's it for old business. Anything new?
Minute back.
We, Bill, by the way, thank you for clarifying what the board was actually voting on there with your motion. That was a good motion, by the way. It was perfectly clear. That takes us off the hook and says, you gotta do what you do.
That's
it. So-
right.
So that was a good
That's right.
motion.
So
All right, any invoices?
Everybody-
Staff? No invoice.
everybody remember all that.
Abatements,
Hey, at town meeting, if it's a question, anything, Bill.
abatements, public abatements, yes,
Yes, this is just signing.
just signing, okay,
And then after the minutes, we will go into executive.
gotcha, okay.
Okay, so, abatements from 2022.
Now, these
There's a
are,
bunch of them.
yeah, there's 22, 21, and 20.
Can we do it as one motion or separate motions?
I'm okay with one motion.
Yeah, I'll second it.
Okay, so I didn't actually make the motion.
No, I said I will second it when the
Oh,
time
okay.
comes.
So,
So these are all exempt vehicles that are leased or not. We don't pull those out before they go in because there's so many. So that's pretty much all what this is us.
these are mostly leased vehicles that
Yeah,
are taxes out
or
because they're being paid by someone else.
because the company is tax exempt.
is the company's tax.
Yes, so
So most of these are exemptions. I move that we sign the monthly list of abatements for motor vehicles. 2020 in the amount of $2,902.06. 2021, $1,153.08. 2022, $2,184.61.
2000 what? 2210
213461.
second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
No, wait a
Wait,
minute.
discussion.
What do you mean lease? They're
So-
tax exempt.
So the business is tax exempt. And they.
The leasing company?
No, the business. That.
That-
All right,
It's
so
leasing.
I got a real estate business and I'm leasing a car. So it's my real estate business that's tax exempt?
This one, this particular place is. All the same. You read it from there.
Oh, yeah, now, yeah, because they're an
because it's-
educational
Can we talk about-
institution.
I don't know what you can and can't say, so.
Yeah, that's a sheltered workshop right up the road. So
Right.
that's they're an educational institution. Okay,
So they provide us. The information we need to have them exempt.
all right, so
Their
in order,
vehicles, some of them are.
right, so in order for them to
Why-
conduct their programs, they lease vehicles to probably transport
Transport. yes,
clients,
Exactly.
because they pick up people and bring them down there to work.
Mhm.
There's a
reason-
lot, I'm saying there's a lot of vehicles.
Yeah.
It's like,
The reason I ask
30
that is
vehicles, so-
because if you lease a vehicle, you personally, for your own use, through an auto dealer, all right? The excise tax for that goes to XYZ company,
the owner. Oh,
but then they pass it on to you to pay.
Mhm.
The problem comes in is if you turn the vehicle in during the year before the tax year ends, you're gonna fight tooth and nail to get that money refunded to you for that balance. I've been through it, so I try to get legislation passed. I don't know where it is. But that's when I saw that list, I wanted to know, whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
All right, so motion made, seconded, discussion had.
Yeah.
All those in favor?
I,
Aye.
And it's very.
hey, a new pen, it's got bright.
Not a new.
Oh, yeah.
New
Hasn't
ink.
been used in a bit, so it's it's very
Do you need a piece of paper
excited.
to scribble around on?
Very blue.
This is the warrant and commitment for sewer. I forgot to put it on, so that is what was amended. Diane, sewer department. The agenda was amended. I forgot to put
Oh,
that on there, so.
has to think about it.
No, you're just,
So we're just saying a motion to sign a sewer enterprise warrant.
yes, and then this one's warrant.
And commitment.
Yeah.
There's two things to sign.
Yeah.
In the amount of $175,901.32.
Second,
Motion made and seconded in discussion. All those in favor? Aye.
I have a question on this one.
Okay.
Is this a company I could lease a car from, or why are they tax exempt?
Because that's also that company.
Oh, over here?
Yes,
Okay,
so they change hands. No, I'm sorry, there's different people in the office. So they actually paid, some of the bills were paid when they should, so that's why it went back to 20 and 21.
okay.
Because now they finally, I can give you a piece of paper. So, well. Public input,
All right, so no sewer? Well, that's,
We just did so.
yeah,
oh, sorry. Gotcha. I'm one check mark behind here. All right, so no public input. Any correspondence?
any correspondence?
Nancy, you normally have correspondence.
No.
And then the minutes from last week,
Like to move that Postpone to our next meeting in the minutes.
We need some adjustments to make.
Didn't realize that we were going to be doing this until just now, and I haven't done that. I thought we were planning on doing our regular.
I'm gonna sound like,
Well,
I'm gonna sound like Goma pile. Shane. I'll second.
Motion made and seconded in
The
discussion.
table.
All those in favor?
Aye.
So I do have the calendar with me. I don't know if I don't have it on the list, but we have to figure out what we're gonna do, because we met like.
A bunch of times in a very short period of time. Yeah.
And I'm losing my mind.
So we were scheduled to
Not
be,
responsible.
we were scheduled,
Yes, you are.
we're scheduled to be next week, but we pushed that to this week because of the time crunch that these folks are on.
So we're not having one next week?
Yeah, well, that's the question.
Right.
I'm away next week. I'm on a boat. I'm on a boat from Tampa, Florida to the Carolinas. So
Who
I,
cares? Who cares?
Can we talk?
so
We don't-
if you guys can, listen,
Give you a captain's hat.
it says, yeah, that's exactly what it is. So likely I don't have a connection,
Do we,
so I can't be here. But if there's nothing
Like,
that I need to be here for, then feel free to have another meeting.
so
yes,
I don't think we need a meeting next week,
So
but I
March-
think it might be
right.
good to, should we?
so do you guys wanna
Would that be the 8th? That would be the 8th.
8th? So I double checked with Leanne and every Wednesday is available. So if we wanted to
So
do
3 weeks.
15 and 29,
3 weeks from today would be,
there's things I know we have to get done.
oh,
There's there's the abatement period. I
When
think
does
we have
that end?
3 months to get back to
Right.
people, but they did in January. we're
So
in
you get the 15th.
February.
So if we started on every other week, so if we missed the 8th, but we went to the 15th, like Nancy said, we'd have 15 and then 29, then we're on the every other week again.
Or every.
well, or we can go back to every 3 weeks.
Every
Yeah.
three.
That's what we did last year, as I
We have to
remember.
kind of adjust
Right.
Yeah,
lines.
yeah.
And what deadlines are we,
So we have exemptions and abatements that we have to get completed by a certain date,
So-
or,
tell us what date we need to meet by to meet that?
well, we have 3 months, so it's a January, people hand.
January, February, so the end March 31st, March 3rd, whatever, it is, right? March 31st, we get to the end of March.
No, we have April, right? Middle of January,
It starts January 1, mid-January,
no, they
right?
have it till
15.
till February 1st to hand in that.
Oh, I see. All right. So February, March, April, to the end of April. Okay. All right. So we still have time if we go to an every,
I mean, if you guys want to.
When do you need a meeting to handle what's coming up? When do you need a
I need
meeting?
a little time to do the research to present to you guys. It's
Okay.
been nonstop and
yeah, that's fine. So you tell us
either,
back into the dates.
do you
You want
want
to go to the 22nd?
to get rid of the 29th and do the 22nd?
Well, if
You
it
wanna
skip
meets,
the 8th?
if it meets what you.
So the 8th is out.
I just need time to get some work done.
All right, all I'm saying is,
That's-
I think we need to modify it, but we can set our meeting schedule to meet the deadlines that you're trying to deal with. So you've got to tell us on a certain date, you need a meeting because you're going to have this for us to act on.
So if we went 3 weeks, that would be the 22nd.
I mean, I'm fine with that. It gives me a little time.
Okay,
It's okay with me.
that's fine by me.
Can eliminate the 8th and the 29th and just make it the 22nd.
I think that would be.
Right. All right. So we'll go March 22nd.
Now, the only concern I have about that is we do need to defense view
Right. Yes, we do. So,
because both of those issues have had progress.
okay, good. I drove by and I kind of was looking around one day. I couldn't see anything.
Progress.
So
So can we handle that on 22nd?
Or is that too late?
No, I'm just.
What's your thought, Bill?
We need to also have a fence view meeting on the 22nd.
So you want to
Yeah.
do both?
Please.
We'll
Both on
do
22nd, okay.
You're
Yep. Okay.
at 9.
Yeah.
Do we need to go at 9 and then 9:30 hours, or we wouldn't need more than a half hour,
I
right?
doubt it. I think half an hour should be fine.
Okay.
All right.
So this will be 9.
all right, 9 AM for fence viewers and 9:30
Okay. I will have this one and this one.
on the 22nd.
Yeah. Okay.
And then on that agenda for the 22nd, we can talk about the calendar.
Yeah.
For the next few
Okay.
The
meetings.
next couple of minutes. Sure. Okay.
Right, because then 19th might be too far off.
Correct. So we can correct course as we go, as they say on the voting world.
Good with that?
You and your boat.
Oh.
So you.
Yeah,
taking
I
Carrie and the
started
kids,
that,
or
but
is this-
then that was-
No. So a friend of mine bought a boat that's in Tampa.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And he needs help sailing it from there because he doesn't have
So we have
the
executive
expertise.
I move that we move to executive session under general law, chapter 30A, section 21A7 to comply with or act on the authority of any special law or federal grant and aid requirements. And we will not be returning to regular session.
Second,
All those in favor?
I.
Aye.
And so, you say 9:58.